Hey, welcome, Ryan. How are you doing, sir?
Well, how are you, Jeremy?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for being able to be on the show today. I've been excited about this. Your background's really intriguing to me. I've talked to different people with like an engineering background. I've talked to somebody with a waste management background so far. So yours is going to be pretty interesting. I won't give it away quite yet, but here soon I'll kind of spoil it just a smidge.
All
So
right.
everyone gets an introduction. So this is Ryan Toole. He's married. He has a daughter. He has 3 dogs. He enjoys mountain biking, guitar, playing golf, and going hiking. He's a clinical pharmacist by profession, and most importantly, he's a passionate homebrewer. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I forgot to put on there that I also really enjoy bourbon. So that's been another, or whiskey in general. I guess it's been
Okay,
another aspect of things here
there
recently too.
you go. That's awesome. Maybe towards the end, if I can remember, I'll try to ask a couple of questions about that as well.
Yeah, no worries.
So I'm going to start after you graduated high school, right? You decided to go to college to become a pharmacist. Which university did you attend?
So I originally am from Southern Illinois,
Mhm.
and so I went to Butler University in Indianapolis.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. What made you decide to go the pharmacy route?
So I always knew that I wanted to do something like I don't know, something in the I thought that I wanted to do something in the medical field, probably
Mhm,
like maybe a doctor or
mhm.
whatever. And I just felt like that was like too many years of school, maybe, and I wanted to kind of get on with my life. Also, my cousin, one of my cousins is a pharmacist, and
Mhm,
so that kind of seemed to line up with, I could be done in 6 years, go out into the professional world. I could help people. I could use some of my science and like math background that was kind of what I was into when I was in
mhm,
school.
mhm.
And so that's kind of how I wound up in pharmacy.
So I don't know if I told you this now, but when I moved down here 20 years ago, I went to ETSU and I actually was one of the first students to be in a pharmacy program.
No,
So
I hadn't heard
you
that.
did, yeah. So I'm
No,
not a pharmacist. I switched
yeah.
after like a couple years into it. I'll make my story brief. So basically, after I got about 2 years into it, I started thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to be the first year graduate into the pharmacy program. Oh no, I'd be a first year graduate to get into the pharmacy program. So like I had to, I had to score well on the PCAT, got to pass the interview, and I got to have a good GPA. If one of those three things didn't go right, what was I going to do? I was like, well, crap, I guess I could take the MCAT. But what kind of doctor do I want to be? It's like, oh, I don't know. So I was kind of, stressed out about it. And the wife's like, well, you really like computers. Why don't you go take a couple of computer science courses? So I took like intro to programming and web design. I was like, all right, I'll switch my major.
That's funny. Like, as I've gotten older, I was kind of like, maybe I should have gone into computers or something like that. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
enjoy those things. And when I was in pharmacy school, I kind of had a little bit of I don't know, I called it my quarter life crisis because nothing was standing out to me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not a pharmacist in the traditional, like, I give out pills
Mm-hmm.
at your pharmacy type of way. So
Okay.
I ended up finding a career. It's called ambulatory care pharmacy, where you can basically go into doctors' offices and help the physicians prescribe the right medications for folks.
Oh,
And so that's
interesting.
kind of, I found like, oh my gosh, I can actually be what I felt like was a really integral
Mm-hmm.
member of the team. Which, I mean, I feel like the retail pharmacists also have a really important part in that. But to me, like being able to speak to the patients and be a part of the decision making process of like, here's the direction we should go in, and be
Mm-hmm.
able to have those back and forths with the docs was really enticing. And so that's kind of where it led me eventually.
That's actually fascinating. So what I wanted to do was getting more into I can't think of the name of it right now, but I'm gonna call it like drug management. I've known a lot of people who were prescribed too many medicines, right? And
Yeah.
their life was pretty ruined by all the stuff that they were taking. So just
hmm
think of like the opioid epidemic, basically, right? So I'm of that generation.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe I could get into that side of it. That was my goal. I wanted to help people. I didn't want to work at Walgreens or anything like that. That wasn't my
Yeah.
my aspirations. But anyways, I'm a computer science now, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
uh,
Absolutely.
so you mentioned in your form that you fill out that while you're in college, the craft beer scene was like exploding. Is this when you discovered homebrewing at this point, or were you just discovering the craft beers?
So it was something that I kind of knew about, I guess, in the background. But like
Mm,
when I was in college, I didn't have anybody ever come up to me and be like, try this beer, I made it.
okay.
Or anything like that. But like when I was in Indianapolis, Sun King had gotten started. There was like Upland Brewing, which I think maybe is out of Bloomington, and a couple other small ones. And I just remember like we would go for me and my friends would go for like a bar trivia or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I come from a family that like doesn't drink alcohol like hardly at all. And so I was kind of like a teetotaler until I was like 21 as well. So when I first got in beer, I was like, I don't really like anything. Blue Moon
Mm-hmm.
was the first like
Mm-hmm.
craft, which we wouldn't call it craft now, but that was kind of the first beer that um, spoke to me in a
Mm-hmm.
certain way, I guess. Um, but yeah, no, nobody was really, as far as like knowing home brewing as a thing. I had heard that you could,
Okay.
and I was like, maybe I'll get into that at some point. But it wasn't until after college and after I did 2 years of residency after pharmacy school. So after that,
Okay.
and I came here to Johnson City,
Mm-hmm.
and one of my friends here, he actually was creating an app where you could buy people drinks at craft breweries,
Okay.
basically. So he worked with Yeehaw and like actually a lot of different breweries around here and in Nashville, and really all over the country
Mm-hmm.
for his app. And his dad was a big home brewer, so he was into home brewing, and he kind of brought me in.
Well, that's really cool. So, okay. So I think I misread your form just a smidge, but that's actually pretty exciting. Is the gentleman you're talking about? Is it the app he has? Is it the passport app?
No,
No.
it was
Okay.
called Brew Fund, and it's not.
Okay.
He's shut it down at this point, I think. But when
Right.
I first came to Johnson City, he was kind of really working on that. Now he does. Excuse me, is with Founders Forge. It's a local entrepreneur thing here in the Tri Cities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if anybody is looking to, become an entrepreneur, needs a little bit of help, it's a great mentoring program. So little plug for them there as well.
Right. Didn't they just have a summit not too long ago?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
mhm,
think Lance went to it, if I remember correctly, or at least he posted about it.
yeah.
So let's get the pharmacist brewer kind of connection going on. So you're a clinical a pharmacist, and thanks for explaining exactly what you do because I had no idea what that was. And you who enjoys home brewing, right? So do you ever find those two worlds kind of overlapping?
Yeah, so I think especially it's funny because it's not really what I do in the professional sense anymore. Because like I said, it's more, well, I guess in a way,
Hmm.
I kind of in my professional career, it's a lot about like keeping up with guidelines and
Hmm.
like continuing to further my education, and then also like knowing, especially where I am. So you can
Hmm.
really specialize if you want to as a clinical pharmacist. You could be in oncology, you could be in cardiology, you could be a
Interesting.
pediatric pharmacist. You could do critical care or emergency room. For me, what I found that I really enjoyed was like family medicine. So I
Hmm.
wouldn't say that I'm like a um, specialist in any one area,
Hmm.
but I really like a lot of like different aspects. So I need to stay like stay up to date with what's going on and lots of different things. And I think like with craft beer, it's for me, it's kind of the same in a way. Like I really like a lot of different styles and I
Hmm.
like the variety and like learning how to do some of those things. I also think like another aspect of it is when I was in pharmacy school and you're learning how to compound and you're learning how to put things together, you have to be like methodical in how you're doing it. We have whole class, like we have like a whole semester almost on like how to make sure you keep your clean room clean and like sanitation and like
Oh
cleaning
wow.
and stuff like that. And so, those are some skills that I also obviously transfer over into home brewing as well. But
Right. Yeah. So you definitely had to have like precision, the chemistry, and your process
mhm,
that you use both in your real world life and with your little home brewery that you have. That's
yeah.
really awesome, man. That's so cool. So with the science background, I'm kind of curious, how do you approach your ingredient selections when building like a recipe? So I guess what I'm asking is like, do you sit there and do you study the spec sheets and try to or analyze the alpha acids or do you just kind of go with whatever sounds good?
So I feel like when I was first starting, and I think
Hmm.
I put this on the form a little bit, when I was first starting, I think I looked into a lot of that stuff a little bit more. And
Hmm.
I think when you look up like homebrew recipes, a lot of times you'll find excuse me,
Mhm.
especially like old homebrew recipes, you'll find like so many malts and like so many different types of hops. And I think one thing I've like learned over the years is really to just kind of simplify it a whole lot.
Mhm.
And so I think when I'm designing recipes,
Mhm.
I really try to stick to maybe three malts, and
Okay.
keep it really simple. And then as far as hops go, recently, and I think I've said this at the Homebrew Club a lot, but like when I was kind of getting more serious about homebrewing, I bought like a lot of like hops that
Mhm.
it was kind of like a grab bag of hops, and it was
Mhm.
super cheap. And they would send you 2 ounce bags, and there were like 3 or 4 2 ounce bags in the thing. And I can't remember how much it was, but it was like stupid cheap. And so I like loaded up on them. So now I've got a freezer full of hops that I need to use. And so really I just kind of see like what I have and what can fit in. And
Yeah.
I've been trying to work my way through those. And then sometimes like if I'm not happy with the beer, sometimes I'm like maybe it's those old hops. And so then I'll go and buy some new hops and, find something else too. But so I think a lot of it is kind of like working with what I have. I also
Mhm.
try to like buy a few different grains in bulk. So, I'll get like just like pale malt in two row or pale malt in bulk, and then I'll get pilsner malt in bulk, and then other than that, I'll just try to grab some other malts that I think might work for the specific beer I'm brewing or something else, and I'll try to like kind of plan a couple of beers where I that way like especially because we don't. I mean, you have to go to Asheville for a local homebrew
Mhm.
store, pretty much. So that way, when I'm making an order, I can kind of optimize and not have to like do another order where I have to spend $100 to get free shipping. So
So ridiculous here lately. Yeah, more beer. What? But what there's up to $79, I think, recently. I'm not sure what great fermentation's at. I think there's just a 59. It might be 69. It's the only two places I ever deal with. I like
yeah,
Asheville. It's one of those things like again, it's a 45-minute drive, but it's like then it's like a 5-minute purchase. I mean, I'm in and out so quick, I don't get to enjoy it. But the store, people that don't know, it's not a very large store. It's pretty small, right? You can
yeah,
turn around, you almost bump into stuff, but he has everything you need to get started, which I think is just phenomenal.
yeah,
Even though it may just be one item, but he's got it.
yeah. We moved up to Northern Virginia for like
Mm,
a little while last year, and we had a homebrew store there in Falls Church that
okay.
was like 10 minutes away. It was so convenient. I once or twice I would like get started on my brew day and be like, crap, I need to go grab something. And that was like it was so clutch to have that there. And the Edisonian when that was still open here, that was great too. But
So that's right when I started to think about getting into home brewing is when I went to the Estonian, and I didn't buy anything from him. My cousin, which I'm sure you'll watch the podcast itself, but he was the one who got me
Mhm.
started. He was like, "Oh, I bought this kit from Northern Brewer. It works great. It's like $100 or whatever." I'm like, "Cool, I'll just do that." You know, get my first extract beer, which is the Party Block Amber, which is
Mhm.
still really good. I mean, I brewed it like a couple times since then. It's a really solid little extract kit. So that's what got me started into it. I think it was pretty cool. Yeah, I wish
Yeah,
it'd be nice if we had more around here, but it's just, we'll talk about this later about trends, but I don't
yeah,
want to, we don't get too far into the weeds. So I've asked everyone about water chemistry. I'm still trying to learn it myself. I have a book somewhere over there on water chemistry.
yeah.
I don't remember chemistry very well, so it's not an easy read to go through it all.
Mhm.
Um, so do you find yourself like is yours already dialed in, or are you a little more loosey goosey with it? Because I'm more loosey goosey, but myself, I have like three salts that I enjoy the most, and I kind of have this.
Mhm.
I do like 3, 3, and 3. I do like 3 grams of gypsum, 3 grams of calcium chloride, 3 grams of magnesium, maybe. Drawing
Yeah.
a plug right
That
now. So I
that
kind of
makes
get
sense.
like a little
The
softer, yeah, Epsom
yeah,
salt. Yeah. So
Epsom
like,
salt.
yeah, a little softer of water profile. That's kind of like my go-to. Sometimes I'll kind of bounce around with that a little bit. So I'm just kind of curious,
Yeah.
like, are you in that same wheelhouse or?
Yeah, so for me, I found that a lot of my like early beers, so I would just, I would use when I first started, I started with the Northern Brewer kit as
Mm,
well, and
okay.
my friend, kind of showed me how to get started. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So
Mm-hmm.
getting over this cold. Um, and for a while I didn't really, but then like when I
Yep, I lost you. Maybe do it yourself. Hey, welcome back from our little difficulty we had, but basically my question was like, I was kind of curious what your water chemistry profile is. Is it depending on the beer style you're going for? Along those lines.
Yeah, definitely. So I will try to shorten the beginning, and then you can kind of however you need to splice it up. When I first got started, I just went with Northern Brewer, and
Mm-hmm.
my buddy was like, "You need to use spring water that you buy from the store."
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't really tell me like why. I think he was hesitant to overwhelm me with information when we first
Mm-hmm.
got started. He was just like, "I just want to show you the process, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And then I got into, and then I decided I really liked home brewing, and then I started like going in deep. So like, Brewlosophy, there weren't a lot of YouTube videos at the time. There were some, Brew Strong, the podcast, I would listen to that as well. But one thing that I feel like, I think from the Brewlosophy guys and listening to their podcast for years, I think like
Mm-hmm.
what I've really learned is like water chemistry is important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like if you want to make like really top-notch beer, water chemistry and cold side oxidation are,
Mm-hmm.
I think, like the two biggest things that I've taken away from that podcast. And so it is something that I really think about, and it does depend on the beer style. And I've kind of gone lots of different ways. um, but recently, so what I've been doing is just buying distilled water, and then I'll
Mm-hmm.
build up my profile, and I just use the calculator on Brewfather.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that that does a pretty good job. I did the Bruin water Excel spreadsheet for a while, but I
Mm-hmm.
found that one was like I did a ward lab kit and I sent in our tap water, and it was high in chloramines. And so then I was like, well, I definitely need a Campden tablet.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe I can build up off of that profile. But I just was kind of getting some inconsistent beers, and I just wanted to make sure that I minimized any like outside. I wanted to minimize every variable I could
Mm-hmm.
that would impact that. So I was like, distilled water from the store is going to have almost nothing in it, and then I can build up from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just choose the profile based on the beer that I'm brewing. But I feel like I brew a lot of like pale ales and IPAs and stuff. And even like with my hazy IPA, I've kind of leaned more towards more sulfates to chloride, even though I know not a lot of people, but I feel like some people prefer more chloride to sulfate in the New England style. So
Yeah, I've not had an opportunity to do New England yet. I'm not. I think I'm really worried about the oxygen being oxygenated. There, that's the word I'm thinking
yeah,
of. Because I don't have a whole lot of equipment. Like most hobbies, you don't know this, but most hobbies I've got into because this is what I dive in deep. I'm an all or nothing kind of person.
okay,
When I go on diets, I'm all or nothing. When I was vegan, there was no tiptoeing into it. I just just did everything to become a vegan. I'm not a vegan anymore, but that's what I did. So this one, I'm like really dragging my feet. There's so many cool things I want to get, but I realize I really don't need it because I feel like I make good enough beer for the most part. I'm sure there's things I could probably tweak here and there to make it slightly better, but I'm not really that worried about it. As long as I like it and I want to share it, I'm fine with it. If I don't like it, you guys ain't gonna taste it. Like you'll never even
yeah.
see the light of day of it.
That's funny. I'm kind of the opposite way. Like if I don't like it, I want to like bring it to the club and be like, "What's wrong with this?" Like I know that this is not good. Like
Right.
I'm drinking, well, and sorry, we're going off on a tangent, but
Yeah,
I'm
that's fine.
drinking my Märzen that I brought to the competition,
Okay.
which I guess tied for second or whatever out of like four.
There's
We
four
had
of
a
us
tie
there.
for first and a tie for second, right?
Yes.
So
So me and you were second.
yeah, we were second. And this thing like was, and one lesson I've learned recently, I think, from this, because now it tastes pretty good. It's still not exactly where I want it.
Hmm.
But I was not happy with it when I brought it to the competition. Um, so and some people said it was good, but there was just something like acrid and just kind of, I don't know,
See,
hard
I
to,
liked mine until to Joe said like, I taste butter. So you taste butter? Like I tasted toffee. And I
mm.
liked that. I thought it was good. I was like,
And then
but
he
I
said butter, and all of a
butter. I
sudden,
was like, oh, maybe I do taste butter. Maybe this is an off flavor. Then he asked me if I did a diacetyl rest. I'm like, well, what's that?
yeah,
I'm still new, so I'm still trying to learn this stuff. And he
yeah,
explained it to me. I'm like, nope, I didn't do that at all.
did not,
I got it down to where I could get it to, and then I kegged it, and here we are.
yeah.
This is one question I'm kind of curious about. I want to ask you because I'm not asking anyone this question yet. Do you have a go-to yeast that you like to use? I do, but I'm just kind of curious if you find yourself like, this is my go-to if I'm making this stuff all the time.
Um, No.
Fair enough. I like it.
So excuse me. I did it first. So I did a lot of USO5.
Yep. That's mine.
I prefer dry yeasts when I can get them, and I'm really excited that like White Labs has got some dry yeasts now.
Oh, do they?
If you can find them on certain sites, and so I've heard and read online that some people say USO5 has a little bit of like a twang or a specific like USO5 flavor to it, and so
Hmm.
um, so for me, like I am a little bit worried about that, and I think like when they say that, I can kind of start to taste it, and then I'm like, I don't know. So, but what I really want to do is get, and I haven't done this yet. I've done this with other things in the past just to
Hmm.
try to figure things out, but I'd like to do a split batch,
Yeah.
and do USO5 versus because I think that White Labs has their I think it's called Cali Ale or something like that. You know, basically their version of USO5.
Hmm.
And some people have said that like there's a difference between those two. So I would really like to try that out and just
That
see
would
where
be
they
fun.
fall.
Yeah.
But
I always think about trying to do experiments. I just never actually do it. I think is my problem. Like I
hmm
started doing smash beers. Those I never brought to like the homebrew at all. It was just I made like a 1 gallon smash beer just to see what these hops tasted like, or what does this grain bring to it. Like I found that I really enjoy a Mare's Otter and Mosaic hops smash beer. I just like the
nice.
combination. I think it's good. I like the berry flavors you can get from the Mosaic, which I discovered by accident when I dry hopped. I did dry hop. I would just did like I did
hmm
like a 60, a 30, and then like a 5 minute or whatever. I was like, well, let's try to dry hop this. I'm like, okay. I dropped it. This actually turned out fairly decent. So I may do that one again. Maybe when it gets a little warmer outside. It's more stout season, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was talking about gear earlier, and like of course, I got all excited about because there's so much cool stuff out there.
Oh yeah.
And you mentioned somewhere like you became, what was it, like gear obsessed or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is more like, I guess a advice, kind of like a question for people. So someone who is like listening or watching, this podcast, who kind of find themselves in the same spot, like we just want this, like they say, like, what would advice would you give them?
You don't have to like spend like crazy
Mm-hmm.
um to make good beer, and you just like and I think this is really hard, but like you need to figure out what works for you and do that. And unfortunately like some of it is going to be like you're going to go buy stuff and then you're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I don't need that." You know? Like so but like trying to figure out what are the essential pieces of gear that you actually need, and like for me it's like what is going to make my day, what's going to make my brew day better,
Yeah.
right? So so for me like so for me personally, I feel like I need um, I need to have a malt mill because I
Mm-hmm.
would prefer to mill my own grains. So, but it doesn't have to be like for me, it's not like top of the line. It's like a 2 mill
Mm-hmm.
or 2 roller mill, right? I think it's like a monster mill or something like that. And I got it when it was on sale, and it works great, and it has worked great. Um, for me, I brew in a bag.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like the electric brewing systems. I think they're great, but like I don't need the top of the line. So
Mm-hmm.
I have the Anvil Foundry. I love it. I've actually, and this is another thing. Right now I have two Anvil Foundries because I have the bigger one, the 10.5, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided like I want to brew more and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not drinking through 5 gallons of beer quickly enough. So I want to do 3 gallon batches.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that on the big one, but it's just kind of clunky and hard to navigate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got the smaller one, which is like the 6.5 or something.
Okay.
Um, and I love it. And it's not the top of the line. It's also not the bottom of the
Mm-hmm.
barrel, but it does exactly what I need it to do. Um, so I've got my malt mill, got that. I prefer to do bag. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and this is something that people will have to figure out, like, because you can put the bag directly into the malt pipe, which would be great, but you kind of have to have something to pull it out with. So I actually put the bag in the malt pipe, and then that way I can lift it up and hang it on the side.
Gotcha. Yep.
Um, and then the next piece of gear that I'm actually planning on hoping to get for Christmas is an X chiller. No, yeah, no. What chiller is it?
Is is
Uh,
the is it the counterflow one?
no, it's not the
No.
counterflow one. It's one of the
Plate
it's one.
chillers?
No, it
No.
goes in it. It is an immersion chiller, and I'm trying to
Oh,
think a jaded brewing chiller. Because I
and,
hear that those are super efficient. Because my Anvil Foundry came with a chiller, but it takes like 15 or 20 minutes to get down. And they
mhm.
say that like the jaded chillers can get it done in like 5 minutes. And
Holy
I'm like,
crap.
that's the only part of brewing that drives me crazy. Like when I'm done, when I'm done with like all that, I'm pretty much ready to be done. And so like if I can shave off some time there,
Heck
that'd be
yeah.
great. And then like I thought about getting like a fancy like fermenter bucket or like
Hmm.
a fancy fermenter. And then I was thinking about it and I'm like, a fermenting bucket is just a keg. And people ferment in kegs all the time.
Hmm.
You just got to cut off some of the dip tube or use a floating dip tube.
Hmm.
And so like that's kind of where I'm at. Like those are the bare bones, I guess, in my setup. Is like I don't
No, that's beautiful. Yeah.
yeah. For a while, I was like, I need to do sparge. I need to think about a sparge arm. I created this like I saw this YouTube video where a guy like rigged the top. He bought a claw hammer supply like sprayer thing
Okay.
so that you could sparge that way. And the anvil came with a pump, so I was like, okay, well, I'll use the pump and I'll put it through the top. And like I had to drill through part of the anvil, the top of the anvil boundary, and like it was a mess. And like now I never use it, you know, and I don't need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of thing where I was just like I was spending, and it wasn't huge sums of money, but like it was like, did I need to? No.
No,
And if I
right.
could go back, I wouldn't do it again. So.
Gotcha. No, actually a brilliant advice right there for sure. So yeah, I want to jump down to like a few questions. So you brought up good. We both, I think me, you, and Lance, I think we're all doing like 3 gallon batches because we all kind of came to the consensus like 5 gallons by ourselves. It's a lot, even though we try to
Mhm.
share what we can. And some homebrewers would think that's counterintuitive because usually when you start homebrewing, you want to do 10 gallons, 15 gallons. And I'm glad you kind of brought that up because, like you said, you're in the same boat that I am. Like, I want to brew more. I want to try different styles. I want to see what else can I make. I kind of have a house beer. Actually, no, I guess that is goes. Do you have a house beer? That being said, I'm just kind of
No, I
curious.
rotate a lot. I
Do
actually
you?
have
Okay.
only brewed the same beer a couple of times.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I've done iterations on my New England
Hmm.
because, like you, kind of like you, like I really got into it and I was like, I need to make sure this is good and I need to
Hmm.
like change like one thing at a time. So I've done that a few times and
Right.
I'm liking the way it's trending, but I don't have a
You don't have a
house
house
beer yet.
beer.
Hmm.
So yeah, I kind of bounce back between I do a blueberry honey ale and I do a cream ale. That's kind of like my house beers, I would say, but that's usually more spring, summer months. I kind of have those kind of sitting around for the most part. I have one friend who does a cloche and he loves it. It's all year long beer. And it's actually really
Yeah,
good. He does a really good job with it. And he just started too, which I'm kind of jealous because I've tried a couple cloches and they've not turned out very well at all. They taste more like saisons at the end of the day. I did something wrong somewhere.
yeah.
Excuse me. You mentioned something that I thought I actually have a quote to go, so I'm going to read verbatim. You said, I like to think that I take brewing just seriously enough. What do you mean by that?
Just seriously enough, yeah. Um, just seriously enough that like if something goes wrong on brew day, I'm not gonna freak out. If a beer doesn't turn out, that's fine. But also that like I pay attention to like the things that I feel are really important to make good beer.
Okay.
So, you know, there are some and anybody can make beer any way that they want to. And I
Right.
would not like tell somebody that they're doing it wrong or doing it in any sort of like that poor way, I guess. Unless they came to me and they were like, "Hey, I don't like the way that my beer is turning out.
Mhm.
Can you give me tips or whatever?" And then I would help them problem solve. But I don't pretend to be like a holder of all this knowledge. But I will say, I think I have listened to every single episode of the Brewosophy podcast. I have listened to multiple of the Brew Strong podcast. I have listened to so much basic brewing. I have watched The Apartment
Mm,
Brewer. I have
mhm,
watched Clawhammer Supply Guys. I have spent a lot of time in it. I've gone to homebrew club meetings.
mhm,
I've read some of the books.
mhm.
Um, and I am on, the subreddit all the time and that type of thing. So, and so I guess some people would say that doesn't sound like just the right amount. That sounds like you're maybe too much. I guess some could argue, but I think like again with that I feel like hearing it from all these different areas, the things that I've keyed in on before, like I've said, are, temperature control with your yeast
Mhm.
matters. It is not the end all be all. There are some, lager yeast that you can ferment a little warmer. That
Mhm.
being said, you don't want them outside at 90 degrees, right?
Right.
And so like knowing that, and again, kind of what I said earlier too, like I'm not uh super worried about like making sure I get all these intricate malts in. I'm not gonna, do like 2% of that,
Mhm.
5% of that, 3% of that, and 25% of this. Um, and then I'm gonna make sure that like for me, the important things are gonna be again, water chemistry
Mhm.
and uh cleaning and sanitation. I didn't mention that earlier.
Yeah, that's a huge
Cleaning,
one. Yeah.
sanitation, controlling your yeast temperature, water chemistry, and then cold side oxygenation, especially on hoppy stuff.
Yeah,
And like
100%.
I feel like that is to me that's like just serious enough where it's like and again not being a snob about it, just just rolling with whatever. And again, like if people want to nerd out about
Oh my
it,
gosh.
I
Yeah.
love to nerd out about it, and we'll get into we'll talk about diacetyl rests and things like that, and some of it I know and some of it I don't know,
Yeah.
you know. So, but yeah, it's just it's fun to me. It's fun to learn more.
100%. I'm in the same boat. I've watched thousands of hours of YouTubes, right? I mean, there's so many YouTubers out there. But I mean, once you get past like the basics, it gets more interesting to see like, I developed this recipe because of X. And you
Hmm.
listen to why they developed that recipe the way they did. You're like, wow, I never thought about it like that. That's quite interesting. Like Steve from the apartment brewer, like, he goes through like a long list of everything that he did, why he went through it, and all stuff like that. Then you have other individuals like, this is my recipe. They just throw it up on the screen, and you see mashing it in, and then they go kind of
Yeah.
through like the brew day real quick. They're all great. I enjoy all of them. Hopefully, I get some more to talk to you shortly. Sounds like your journey is my journey as well too. You're just a little further into it. I think I erased it. Next spring would be 4 years for me. So I've not done it quite as long as you. I think you're close to a decade or so. And we'll get into that here in a little bit as well too. I kind of want to go back to your brewery setup. So you covered like a lot of stuff that you like the basics to kind of get going. It's kind of what's up. What else do you have in your brewery currently?
Let's see. I honestly think that I went through mostly everything. I've got
Okay.
multiple. I only have one keg right now that's set up to ferment. I have some big mouth bubblers, some
Okay.
plastic big mouth bubblers that
Hmm.
I used to use. I get worried now a little bit because I've had them since I started, and I get a little bit worried that there might be like micro abrasions on the inside of them.
Hmm. Yep.
And so I'm worried a little bit about contamination. So
Hmm.
that's why I decided a few years ago I wanted to switch to stainless steel. And then I started looking, like I said, at the fancy ones, and I was like, eh. And then a lot of people said like just do it in kegs.
Yep.
So I did. Um, but yeah, I mean, I have kegs. I have my Anvil Foundry. I have two of
Hmm.
them, but I never use the bigger one anymore. But like and like part of me is like I should sell it, and then part of me is like,
I don't
well, what
want
if
to.
you, what? Yeah, I don't want to. And like, what if I do hoppy possum and I need to
Oh,
do
yeah,
10
true.
gallons?
Hmm.
If I need to do that, then I would rather do it on that big system as opposed to my small system. So, but then part of me is like, well, if you want to do 10 gallons, just make a high gravity wort and then dilute it later.
True. Yep.
Um, um, yeah, I've got the Anvil Foundry right now. I've got an immersion chiller that came with
Yep.
the Anvil Foundry that works perfectly fine. And then I've got my malt mill, and like I feel like
Okay.
those are kind of the main things. And then I've got a few, kegs, and then I've got my 4 tap kegerator.
Oh
And
yeah, that's
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 it.
kind of what I have in my notes right here. Now, did you build that yourself or did you buy that?
So I built it. Originally
Nice.
I bought a kegerator with 2 taps.
Okay.
And this was when like homebrewing was like, I feel like homebrewing was like going through the roof. And
Hmm.
I could not find anyone selling them. Like, because you listen to the podcast and they're like, oh, you can find one cheap on Craigslist. Well, not around here. I had to drive
No.
down to like South Carolina, but like just a little bit past Asheville
Okay.
to get that. And then I had that for a little while and I wanted to brew more. 2 taps wasn't really cutting it for me. So I found a cheap refrigerator
Hmm.
um, online, and then the bonus of that is I have the freezer space for
Mhm.
hops. And then yeah, I just kind of drilled 4 holes for taps, and I bought all the stuff online that I needed. I've got a drip tray there. A couple years ago, when I first started, was like kind of before all the like push. What are
Oh,
those called?
the dual connects or whatever, or dual
Duotite,
tights.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was a big project for me a few years ago, or a couple years ago, was to switch
Mhm.
everything over to Duotite. And then I use all the Duotite fittings too to like control the different pressures going into the different kegs.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I have one tap that's just sparkling water for me and the family.
Nice.
And then the 3 other taps are for beer.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. So I'm slowly converting to duotite as well too. When I ordered mine from More Beer, I think they were just in the process of opening up their new location, like in Kansas or something like that. And like my order took like 2 months to get, and I wasn't happy. And I said,
Brutal.
just cancel my order. I want my money back. This, that, and the other. Da 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 da. To make a long story short, they gave me two of the exact same orders. I don't think they did it
Hmm.
on purpose. It was more of
Yeah,
an accident, but it was enough to kind of complete the other part of my project. So yeah, but so Duotite's awesome. I would highly recommend them. Can be fairly cheap overall. I think they're a little
yeah,
bit different than normal gas and beverage, ball lock connectors. They just look like those little short and stubby little things. Uh,
yeah.
so I do I do pressure fermentation as well. But what I bought is it's called the Spundit Valve 2.0. It's made by an
Okay,
individual named Trong, I think I say his name. It's like a Swiss Army knife. I'll have to, if you don't know what it is, I'll bring it one of the brew meetings, just kind of show it off. So basically, it's like a Swiss Army knife for
okay,
spunding valves. I can daisy chain to other ones,
okay.
right? So I don't have to have a spunding valve for each keg that I'm doing pressure with. So I got that figured out. I just bought a one-way check valve, or bought a bag of them. So I think what happened, because I'm doing two ciders right now, I feel like one kicked off before the other one did. So the other one was pushing pressure into that other keg while I was building up pressure to push it back out. So I want a one-way check valve to, once that hits, it goes through. 'Cause I think it breaks the seal at 2 psi or something like that. It's not a whole lot.
Yeah,
Um, so that's pretty cool. I want to get more into cold side, kind of like you were talking about. So I asked Santa for a uh stainless steel fermenter, not a big one,
nice.
just a
Yeah,
little 4 gallon little jobby, because again 3 gallons all I need. And I
yeah.
already have the number 7 stopper that you can buy from Anvil
Mhm.
themselves, and I have their coil, so I
Yeah.
can actually
Okay.
do. I can. I'm losing my words all of a sudden. I can do my controlled fermentation that way. The
Nice.
way I do is kind of neat. You probably only live like 5 minutes from me. I probably have to do a cover one day to show it to you. So
Yeah.
what I have is like a really skinny trash can that's like 5 gallons. I just fill it up with like ice water. I
Yeah.
put like a pump inside there, and it just kind of pumps through that and just
Nice.
keeps it cool. I have like a temperature probe and all that kind of stuff, so it's kind of neat. So like I think my hot side's fine. So like your hot side is fine as well too. Pressure fermentation is great and all, but I definitely kind of want to play around with a little bit of the more the cold side, kind of side of the house a little bit.
Yeah.
My garage gets about 55 degrees in the wintertime, so I could probably just throw a logger out there and be happy with it.
Yeah.
I built the Keezer as well. Well, I built a Keezer. You built a Kegerator, which is a fun, simple little project. I mean, it's not really that hard. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of. If you got a drill and say it's a patience, you can do just about anything for
Yeah,
the
I know.
most
I
part.
was I was like terrified that I would hit some sort of like electrical thing or what. I mean, it's all in the back, but I was just afraid that
Yeah,
I was gonna screw that up or I wasn't gonna
yeah.
have enough. I was gonna be leaking cold air. I was nervous about that, but it was all fine. It was
Yeah.
all fine. The door was the hardest thing because like, cutting the things because I was just like I started cutting and I didn't think about the inside molding and I was
Oh,
like,
yeah. Right. Yeah.
uh-oh. And I think like the other thing that I messed up was I put the taps too close together.
Yep.
So
I
if I
did
were
too.
to do it again, I would space them out a little further.
Yep. Yep. I did the same thing. I was fortunate enough that I actually bought a huge plate, not plate, more like a big chunk of wood for like the front facing part of it. So I actually just re-drilled the hole
Yeah.
through that new wood, kind of took care of it because I thought I measured it correctly. But no, I was completely wrong.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta think about like the
Oh
diameter of
gosh,
how
yeah.
far, and the collar that goes on there.
The collar,
Uh,
then you have that little stopper, not whatever you want to call it, but that's like almost twice the size as the actual shank
yeah,
that goes through. So you're like, I think that's where I messed up at. I think they were like overlapped each other like quarter of an inch. I'm like, oh man, I gotta redo this now.
yeah.
Oh, if someone is thinking about switching to kegging, kind of sounds like it's worth it for us. But what should they know before they make the investment?
That's a good question. I think I'm really interested in some of these newer products for
Hmm.
kegging. Like the fact, like I didn't realize that you could get, and especially with the same company that makes Duotite Kegland.
Hmm.
So like
Oh yeah.
Kegland, they've got these new like tiny kegs that are made of plastic,
Hmm.
that are inexpensive, and you don't even need like the full. And I didn't think about this. You don't even need like taps. I mean, like you need
Hmm.
something to dispense it out of, right? But like, Todd. When I went over to Todd's place, he has like Cobra head taps, and he just opens up his thing and pulls it from the Cobra head. And I'm just like, I never thought that you could do it that cheap. I thought you had to really like just like jump in. And
Hmm.
so there's like a lot of things that people could do. I mean, like if you don't brew that much, you can get one of those cheap plastic kegs.
Hmm.
Or what I did was I bought old kegs. That's another like tip, is to find old kegs that are
Hmm.
on sale and then just make sure you clean them really well. So mine are old soda kegs. Um, I hardly ever pay full price for anything. That's just me being cheap. But
Being smart.
yeah, but if you want to something brand new, I would just do those plastic ones, and
Hmm.
then I would, then you could get a small amount of CO2 and a picnic tap, and you're
Hmm.
good to go. Like, I mean, you can just throw that in a refrigerator or a small kegerator or a small fridge, like a dorm room size fridge,
Hmm.
and you would be fine. So,
Yeah.
um, but it I feel like when I was looking at putting together a kegerator,
Hmm.
I feel like there's space in the homebrewing realm for somebody to do a really good step by step. Here's how you do it. I know there's a couple out there, but like they don't get into the minutia of like what shanks do you need? What not that I found at that time.
Hmm.
What shanks do you need? And then I go to like get like a faucet, and it's like, do you want a flow control faucet? I'm like, what the
Yeah.
heck is a flow
Hmm.
control faucet? And then I was like, well, I might as well do that. So then
Hmm.
I've got two flow control faucets and two non-flow control faucets. I also bought, so two of them are like the inner taps, which is
Hmm.
great because you can take off the end and switch those out,
Hmm.
which is fantastic. Well, I bought two, like, I don't remember what the brand is, and I probably shouldn't like put a brand out here, but they were kind of like knockoff inner taps, I guess.
Okay.
And now I can't find like my attachment that works to fill up my bottles that I bring
Hmm.
for homebrew so that I minimize the amount of like foam that I lose and carbonation and all that.
Hmm.
I can't put the same attachment onto these things because it
Really?
doesn't fit.
Hmm.
The diameter is too wide, so it won't screw in.
Gotcha.
And then I looked online and they don't sell them anymore. So now I've got to, if I want to hit those two in the middle, now I've got to buy two new taps or two new faucets, which
Lovely.
is brutal.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bought the Nuka taps. I like the what is it, forward sealing mechanism it has on those, I believe is what it is. Because I
Yeah.
noticed when I bought so I bought a CO2 tank and it came with like the taps and lines and all that kind of stuff, just like a little kit. But I noticed with those cheaper faucets, when I would shut the beer flow and I take my glass away, it would still drip, I don't know, maybe quarter of an ounce or whatever. But it's still like, holy crap, that's kind of annoying. Then, like most home brewers or anybody who's into any hobby, you start going down like the rabbit hole, like, well, what's this? What's that? Yeah, you talk about, the control flow. I'm like, I saw that one as well too. I was like, what is this even used for? Then they brought me down to like a rabbit hole to like Czech style beers. Like, I don't plan on buying it. Like, I'm not planning on making Czech style beers, but then they have a special pull
Side pole.
sideways. Yeah,
Yeah.
then the beer engines, like all this crap. I'm like, no, I want something simple that just doesn't drip. That's all I want.
Yeah.
So I landed with like a Nuka
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
It's been
I'm a
great.
big fan of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna get the black ones. Who has those? A friend of mine has those, and I feel like if you bump them with anything abrasive, that black gets chipped off.
Okay. I
I
thought
was
those
like,
looked cool as
yeah,
well. But I just went with the chrome.
yeah, Chrome as well. Yeah.
I think they were cheaper. So
Probably 100% cheaper.
yeah.
So it sounds like you are a do-it-yourself kind of guy, even though you've been to somewhere that you're really not. But there was one other thing that you brought up I thought was pretty interesting. Like you modify the sparge mechanism on your Anvil Foundry, but stop recirculating. So
Yeah.
what did you alter, and why did you stop recirculating your mash?
Yeah. So I so at the top of the sorry, I'm trying to think now. With the Anvil Foundry, basically they give you like a little thing and it's got a bunch of holes cut in the
Mm-hmm.
top. You just kind of like drape um you kind of drape a tube over the top of that and you can recirculate it and it'll go through the holes and it'll drip on top of the mash,
Oh, okay, yeah,
right?
yeah, yep.
So that's what they send with you. I found this guy online, and he had this like really cool setup where like you buy like a little side arm, and then you buy a thing from Clawhammer Supply that
Mm-hmm.
causes it to spray,
Mm-hmm.
um, and like kind of hits the grains. I felt like in a more of the grains, I guess. I don't know, in a more like uniform fashion or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is so cool. I could definitely do this. And you had to like I had to take a drill and like drill a little bit through the top in
Mm-hmm.
order for it to like widen the thing so that that arm could come down and it would fit through. And then I also had to buy stainless steel like quick disconnects.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I didn't have to, but I did. And so then you got the stainless steel disconnects. And so basically, and I liked that part of it because I love like after that I was like, I want to do quick disconnects for everything I
Oh, for
possibly
sure.
can.
Yeah.
But then I stopped really doing like I mean I put quick disconnects on my uh hose for
Mhm.
my chiller and I put quick disconnects on
Wow.
my chiller because that made it so much easier to I don't know take off and on
Yeah, it
and those
makes
types of
sense. Yeah.
things. But
Hmm.
so I really enjoyed that. But yeah, but I just stopped doing the recirculation because I don't think like the only thing for me I think that you get from more recirculation is
Hmm.
higher efficiency and like I would just rather buy a little bit more grain and not have to deal with cleaning all of it. That's really the biggest thing is like
I guess that does make sense. Yeah.
I'd have to clean both of the tubes coming in
Hmm.
and out that would go back in, and I'd have to clean my pump. And then I have to clean the sparge as well. And for me, it's just an unnecessary step. So, and like I said, I'm kind of anal about cleaning anyway. So I worry about things going through that pump. So, and then my Anvil Foundry pump died, and it died in between the time I decided to stop
Okay.
and then later because like I can't remember why I needed it, but I was like, I'm gonna use my pump for whatever, and it wouldn't. I was like, okay, whatever.
I'm done with you, anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh,
Sorry. Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just going to say one thing that I
Huh?
thought of that I didn't talk about when we were talking about gear
Yes.
is how I do my fermentation. So I
Okay.
ferment in kegs. And what I do is I ferment in kegs and then I daisy chain that to the keg that I'm going to serve in. And then I have that keg filled with sanitizer. And then
Hmm.
that keg daisy chains into another keg that'll just take the sanitizer. So when it is fermenting, it
Hmm.
pushes all that sanitizer out and then fills it with CO2. So that way I don't have to worry about oxygen in the serving keg.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I used to just fill that up with sanitizer and push it out with CO2. And then the guys on Brewosophy were like, well, I just do this. And I was like, that's a great idea. I might
Hmm.
as well just use the CO2 that's already produced so that it's good to go. So I've really enjoyed doing that.
No, yeah, no, that's brilliant. Yeah, I've done that a couple times. Excuse me. One thing the spunded valve has, it has this, the exhaust basically, or the CO2 outlet, kind of goes into like this little jar of water
Hmm.
or sanitizers. But you could essentially take that and start to pre-carb another keg with that. Then daisy chain that as well too. Just get little splitters and the hose that you need, and you could pre-carb a keg. You could push CO2 out of another keg to fill it up with CO2. It was like $80, so it wasn't like a cheap investment. But like
Yeah,
all the little things they can do, because I kept looking, I was like, well, I could buy this and this and this. I'm like, man, well, I'm gonna have a bunch of these spunding valves. I could just have this one to rule them
right.
all.
There you go.
I was watching Lord of the Rings the other day. That's what about in my head.
Is the season.
It is the season, which is so weird. It's like watching a little sidetrack here. Die Hard, because it happens on Christmas Eve, so
Absolutely.
it's a Christmas movie, no matter what Bruce Willis said. Um, so okay, so I have to ask this question. We need to talk about the heavy metal cream ale at Thirsty Orange in 2022. Let's hear the story.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I feel like Denny and Drew on Experimental Brewing have been talking about cream ale and how much they love cream ale.
Hmm.
And it Thirsty Orange happens in the spring, and I hadn't done any lagers at that point. But I was kind of craving just like a plain, or like not a plain, but a beer flavored beer. And I was
Hmm.
like, this would be good. Thirsty Orange is coming up. I'll put it in there. And I kind of based it on, I think Drew's recipe for, I think it's like a knockoff of Genesee cream ale.
Okay.
Um, and I made it, and it was like so simple and like one of the easiest brew days I've ever had. Everything went well. I mean, you only like, there's one hop addition at 60 minutes.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like, flaked maize in there.
Hmm.
I mean, it was simple and it went smoothly. And I was like, this is great. Gonna bring this beer to a festival, so it's gonna
Hmm.
do well. I have a side tangent on like now if I'm thinking about brewing for a festival, I'm probably gonna do something a little more like, I don't know, fruity, or like the ones that people go wild for are kind of the weird ones that are
Hmm.
or not weird ones, but
They're
have a
usually
little bit of
sweeter.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, I feel good about this beer. I tasted it. It tasted great. I put it in the
Okay.
keg. It tasted great. I had just, an important part of the story is that I had just switched to starting to use floating dip tubes because I wanted to have the clearest beer that I could possibly get. And I had used floating dip tubes on a beer before, and I just kept pulling foam, like because it wouldn't, like it was just staying up
Yeah.
above the beer line
Hmm.
or right on the edge of the beer line. And so I had read online, just go, just use like, excuse me, like a nut
Hmm.
and just, or a washer or something. And I was like, okay, I can definitely do that. So I went to the hardware store and I got a nut and I put it on there. And then day of Thirsty Orange, and I pull it out and I'm excited because I feel confident about this beer. It tasted good last week.
Hmm.
It's going to be great. And it just tastes like metal. It just tastes like straight metal. And I'm like, this is gross. And I asked somebody else, I'm like, am I crazy or does this taste like metal? And they're like, no, that definitely tastes like metal. So there I am with all that beer that I made for this competition. I had only drank like two pints of it, and nobody, like people ask for it, and I tell them like, hey, I'm just gonna warn you, like it's not as good. It's not that good. And I'm just baffled. I'm like, what did I do? I look up all the reasons that you could have heavy metal, and they're just like, oh, it's probably exposure to metal, blah blah blah. And I was like, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, well, maybe it'll just go away. So I leave it in my kegerator for like, I don't know, a month, maybe
Okay.
2 months,
Hmm.
hoping it'll go away. And I check it probably every couple weeks. Terrible, 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 terrible. And finally, I pour it and I dump it into my bathtub, and I'm dumping it, and then the floating dip tube falls out. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just, I got to pick that up and put it back in. And as I pick it up and look at it, that nut that was on there was rusted, just fully rusted.
Oh my
And
lord.
I was like, I know why it tasted like metal now. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So, moral of the story is if you're going to weigh down a floating dip tube with metal, make sure that you use a stainless steel washer or nut or something.
Bro, 100%. Yep. Man, that's like I saw that. I was like, oh, it's gonna be a good story. I gotta hear this
Yeah.
all the way through.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I haven't had any bottle bombs. I haven't had
Oh, you're
like,
lucky. Yeah.
yeah. Uh I haven't had like really big brewing disasters, and that's the worst one, Other than that, it's just been just boil overs before I had the electric system and, silly things, but that's the biggest one.
Yeah, so knock on wood, I've not had a boil over yet. I've had I'm gonna say under 4 or 5 bottle bombs. I don't recall exact numbers, but it's only been like just a couple. But it wasn't like the whole batch was bottle bombs, just a few just kind of exploded. And I don't understand why that happened because I was pretty sure all of them were about the same level. I added the priming sugar to the fermenting bucket itself, so it wasn't like had extra sugar in it. But I don't think I can think of like I don't know where these caps are made at. Maybe there's a cheap cap. Maybe I didn't crimp it down as strongly as I probably should have, or something
Mhm.
like along those lines. So I kind of want to get into a little bit. Oh yeah, so you were talking about, and I have a hard time saying this, so bear with me. Metabisulfite. There we
Yeah.
go. I think I said it, to prevent oxidation. So as you say, every time you add that, you end up with rotten eggs. Do you have a theory of what's going on there? Why it's doing that?
Yeah, I do. So you have to add like a tiny, teeny tiny amount. And I think that since I brew 3 gallons, because and I don't remember the exact amount, but like I want to say it's just a couple of grams per 5 gallon batch. Um, and so like if you're gonna do a 3 gallon batch, it's like a gram, half a
Probably.
gram,
Right.
something like that. And so like, I've got my little, I don't know, people call them drug scales or whatever that you buy on Amazon to measure like small amounts, but like how accurate is that? I don't
Mm,
know. And then I just think that it's probably too much metabisulfite. Some people online have said what you should do or what you can do is you can take distilled water and metabisulfite, and then because basically what you can do is you add a certain number of grams per certain number of milliliters of water, and then you
mm.
know how many grams per milliliter you have, and then if you do a conversion you can figure out like,
Oh, it
okay,
makes sense. Yeah.
I only need to add a quarter of a gram, so I add this much of this solution. um but I just like after I've gotten burned on, I think 3 beers, maybe
Mhm.
just two or three, and after I've gotten burned with it, I just don't want to really mess with it anymore.
Okay.
I've kind of given up, and I'm like, and it stinks because like every experiment they have on Brewosophy is like, this works really well and keeps your beer really fresh for a long time. It helps prevent oxidation, and I do everything I can to minimize it. But I'm like, if I could
Mhm.
have a little bit of insurance, I would feel a lot better. And it's just every time it hurts my heart. And being a cheapo, I just feel like I'm wasting $50 or whatever it took to, come up with the ingredients.
Right. No, you're not wrong there. Yeah, I was gonna have to be given up on it, but it sounds like you kind of have. So, which
I
is fine.
might
I've never used it myself, so
I might try it again in the future. I don't know. Like right now I have a hoppy pilsner that I've had on tap since like the end of summer, and it is not like, it's fine, but it definitely doesn't taste as good as it did a couple of months ago. And I'm like, if I had the metabisulfite in there, maybe it would be better. Or maybe it would be like rotten eggs, and then I wouldn't want to
be
drink it at
upset.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me think because I feel like some of my beers don't last as long. Like it's like a peak, and then hits like a degradation to it after a while. Because my Sierra Nevada clone that I made for the last competition we had, what, a month or two ago now. It's still really good. I still really enjoy it, but it is starting the flavor profile is definitely changing. I still like it better than the Sierra Nevada. That's what I had earlier. It's like I feel like this batch of Sierra Nevada just is missing something where like mine has that something that's missing, like extra hop flavor to it, I guess. And
Yeah.
I typically enjoy like a Sierra Nevada, but now that I think about it, like I don't ever buy bottles. I usually get it like at restaurants, so it's always in a keg.
Hmm. Okay.
And I'm not 100% convinced that kegs make a difference, but sometimes I feel like a beer off a keg versus a bottle or can, it's always different because I love a Blue Moon off tap versus a bottle. It's just something
Interesting.
about it I just enjoy. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's all psychological.
Yeah.
Taste is all
It
subjective
could be.
anyways. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, and taps are so unique too because, how often do the restaurants clean the beer lines and those types of
Oh,
things,
I've
which,
had this conversation with a lot of people, and
yeah.
I've asked people that have that question at restaurants. They just look at you. "Hey, what are you talking about?" I'm like, okay, you're not the person I need to talk to. He's your manager I need to talk to.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
okay, so me being somewhat of a new brewer or someone who's even a bigger new brewer than I am, what are some of like mistakes that we can kind of watch out for when we get started?
Um, let's see. Okay, so I would say like tap water. So
Mm,
like using tap water, and some people can get away with it, right? Like if you don't have chlorine and you don't have chloramine in your water,
hmm
it probably won't matter. But that can make a difference. And I don't really, sometimes I'm really bad at like, and it's been so long since I feel like I've had one that I've made with tap water.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard to say, but it has like a really characteristic twang to it, that is not pleasant, and
Yeah.
just does not taste good. Um, I would also say like people that are starting with extract kits and stuff
Mhm.
is great, but I would s- say to go with dry malt extract and not liquid extract.
Okay.
Because the liquid extract can go bad pretty quickly. It can have like it can have a really bad taste to it as well.
Mhm.
Plus, it's awful to deal with, as far as like stickiness and those
Oh,
types of things. So if you can avoid liquid malt extract, I would do that.
right.
Um, and then what's another thing that I would say? Just cleaning,
That's
cleaning.
huge thing.
And like the thing with cleaning, and I even, again, I said like with my pharmacy background, I thought about cleaning, but like taking stuff apart and cleaning it
Mhm.
too, because like, and it doesn't have to be every single time, but like on my Anvil Foundry, like it's got a little spigot on the front, and like
Mm.
probably every 2 batches, I will take that off and pull everything apart and clean all the parts of it. That might be a little overboard, but I would rather that than end up with like a gross batch, because every time
Mhm.
I do that, like two brews in, like I will find stuff in there that like I'm glad that I cleaned this. So I
Mhm.
feel good about that at that point. And just like sanitation. I
Yeah.
don't, knock on wood, I haven't had any infected batches that have been really gross. But
I've had
those are,
two
yeah.
personally. They couldn't figure out why or what really happened. I'm sure it was probably sanitation, but I mean, I'm super anal. I'm the kind of guy that when I fill up my kegs or fermenting bucket, like I have it from the beginning of my brew day. I pick the thing up and I shake it and I put it down. I
Hmm.
pick it up and shake it. So I end up shaking this thing probably 20 minutes throughout the day.
Yeah.
But one thing I read today actually, which I guess when you sanitize, you need about 2 minutes of contact, blah blah blah. But anything beyond that 2 minutes, the active part of it being sanitized starts to degrade. Because it was just
Interesting.
one thing that I read. There was no, it wasn't a scientific report. It was just some obscure Reddit post somewhere. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But since I'm constantly shaking, I guess I'm not too worried about it. But I have just sprayed and went as well too. So I think
Hmm.
find it very simple to do that as well.
Yeah.
I think don't be intimidated. I think it's another one too. I think some people look at this hobby like, oh my gosh, it's super intimidating. It really isn't. The one thing that can be a pain in the butt that I tell people honestly, like you're going to do a lot of dishes. You're going to be cleaning a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. Like I used to have a saying, I'm not going to say because I've said it like in the last couple of podcasts, but basically I also say this part that I tell people, I was like, I have a cleaning hobby that produces beer, so you clean a lot.
Yeah. I will say, like, if I could upgrade one part of my brewing, and this is for the past, I don't know, for the past like while, is
Yeah,
like I wish that I had a dedicated space with a sink, with a large sink,
that's what
because
I want to.
right now I clean in my bathtub,
Oof.
and like it's just like, and we've got you know, a sprayer,
Yeah,
but it's like, I'm bending over a
so
lot
hunched
and
over the whole
like
time.
I'm
Yeah.
not hunched over all the time.
Uh,
And I actually I bought one of the like a laundry room sink.
mhm,
And it's relatively light, and I like keep it in the basement. And sometimes like if I know I have a lot of cleaning, I'm normally pretty good about like cleaning kegs when I get done, like right when I get done with them. But like
mhm.
if I have a few build up, I'll bring that thing up and put it in the bathtub, so that way like it's sitting up and
Mm,
then I don't have to hunch over quite as much. But like that's the only thing I can really think of. Our sink in our kitchen is super shallow, so I can't really do any cleaning
yeah.
in there, unfortunately.
I have like the smallest utility sink that you could buy. I wish I bought the bigger one because it's
Yeah.
just big enough for my kettle to fit in, and that is it. I'm like, oh man, this really sucks.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, so you mentioned you have a wife and a daughter. You so you got 3 dogs. You like to ride bikes. You play guitar. You golf. You hike. And you also bought a starter garden somewhere in Johnson City. How
Oh
do you
yeah.
have time to brew?
Um, that's a really good question. So I basically just, whenever I kick a keg, is when I start to kind of think about, or when I
Gotcha.
feel like I'm getting close, is when I
Mm.
start to think about like when's my next brew going to be. And then I try on the weekend to kind of pick a day that is going
Mm.
to be open from whatever. And I will do the great thing about the Foundry is that I can get it like going before I wake up. And so what I've been trying to do recently,
Mm, okay.
when I first started, it was kind of like not a party, but I tried to like bring people over and like
Mm.
have them brew with me and like make it like a meaningful experience. And then I found that like that was fun, but also I would drink while I did that, and then my beers weren't turning out super well. And so like I approached it more. Now I approach it more as like, all right, this is the process and a hobby that I need to do, but I need to
Mm.
do it well. And
Mm.
so like it's more like I'm gonna drink my coffee while I make my beer. Um,
That's perfect.
and so I will have it set to where the water will be ready when I wake up in
Mm.
the morning, and I might wake up a little bit early on a Saturday to get going. And so it's ready to mash in. And I will go ahead and get my grains milled beforehand, like the night before, so they're ready to go as well. Um, and then that way I just try to make it as like seamless as possible on brew day.
Hmm. That's brilliant.
But yeah, I mean, like for a while, I feel like this year I actually brewed a little bit more,
Hmm.
especially earlier in the year, but then recently because I didn't really like that Märzen very much. And also I feel like I've been trying to like for a while I was felt like I was drinking like having a drink every day. Um,
Hmm.
and I didn't really love that, so I cut back to where I just drink on the weekends. So like because of that, everything slowed down a little bit more. I need to find some people that I can like give away, or maybe at Homebrew Club I need to
Ditto.
bring some bottles and give them
Ditto.
as well. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. Recently I haven't, and I know that my hoppy lager is gonna kick soon, so I got to figure out what my next beer is gonna be.
Yeah. So I'm at the point, and I came to this point probably a year and a half ago, like I want to brew more. So I don't have a problem like taking a couple pints and just dumping the rest. And I
Yeah.
know it's a waste of money, and I totally understand that. But it's like I want to try something different. Like I brought it to the homebrew club. Everyone tried it. Everyone loves it. I think because it's free beer.
Yeah.
But I want to try something different. I want to go on to the next style because I there's so many different styles out there I've not even begun to scratch the surface on. Like I did a barley wine a couple years ago that turned out like trash. I'd never had a barley wine before, so I didn't know what it's supposed to taste like. I
Yeah.
got ridiculed. They didn't know it was mine. It was like a blind taste. But I mean, I
Ooh,
sat next to people that have been brewing for like a long time, and they just shredded it
for
because
it.
I knew what it might taste like. Like, okay, I won't brew that one again, but I want to. I want to brew it again. Um,
Yeah.
I remember a lot that they said, and I have a better idea of what I would do differently this time around. I know sometimes when I first started, my youngest child, who's now 22, was helping me bottle beer, which was really fun. They kind of, because bottling beer at the time just is boring, really kind of sucks. I mean, having someone else would
Yeah.
definitely speed things along. With your child, who's definitely too young to consume, has she shown any interest, or has she come out to say, Dad, can I help you with anything? Or,
I think her mom made her come and help me one day. It was kind of a punishment, but she like when she was doing it, she
sorry.
enjoyed it.
Okay, that's funny.
Um, but like she doesn't really want to do it again. She doesn't like the way it smells. Like sometimes I'll
Oh,
brew
love the smell.
inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the smell too, but I think it's a little bit of an acquired thing. Almost like, beer itself is
Oh,
an
but
acquired
yep,
taste, so,
100%.
such an acquired taste. So, which is I think why I know you mentioned trends earlier. I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing it kind of fall
Hmm.
by the wayside a bit, unfortunately. But yeah, no, she has not, which again, like I'm not that upset about now because she's still a teenager.
Hmm.
And I would rather just be like, gross, no, I don't. But maybe eventually, maybe when she's older. I know she said like she's like, when I turn 21, you're gonna take me to a craft beer bar and where you're gonna tell me all about the different ones. And I'm like, yep, absolutely. When you're 21, we will do that. So
That's awesome. Oh, man, my son, my youngest son, he's in Knoxville and he goes to UT out there. So he's already hit all the really cool breweries out there without me. So that kind of sucks. And then my oldest, I think we hit a couple and then he moved to South Carolina. So when we go down there, he tries to take me to some down there. South Carolina has some pretty good breweries down there as well, too. I've
yeah.
never heard of pretty small ones as well. So just well, I have quite a few more questions, but I'm trying to respect your time here. So I'm going to ask this one here. What still excites you about homebrewing almost after 12, not 12 years, but 10 years of being in this hobby?
For me, it's just kind of like
Mm.
the like figuring out what it's gonna taste like. You know, that
Yeah, yeah.
anticipation that you have, like when it's you know, you feel pretty good about the
Hmm.
recipe, your brew day's gone well, fermentation's happened, and you're just sitting there. It's also the most like I feel like the most frustrating part. Sorry, the most frustrating part is when you feel good about it and it's bad. It's
Yes.
also I also get frustrated. I'm very impatient whenever it's fermenting and I'm just like, do I bottle it now? Do I bottle it now? Do I bottle it now? And I'm not one that takes like gravity readings. Like I'll just let it ride for 2 weeks
Okay.
and then go for it. Like because I feel like most of the times it's already done bubbling. It's been done bubbling for several days
Yeah.
and I just go for it. And normally it's fine. Honestly, one issue I have, sorry, this is a tangent. One
That's
issue
right.
I have is all of my beers dry out more than I anticipate them. Like
Okay.
even whenever I mash at the temperature where I'm expecting it to be higher gravity when it
Hmm.
finishes, or the final gravity reading to be higher, it still goes down super low.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know
That
what's
is
going on there,
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe
but
somebody who can add a comment and kind of explain it to us.
yeah, that would be great. Maybe my temperature on my Anvil Foundry is not like as good as, you
That's a
know.
good point. Yeah, so my buddy has was it the Greenfather? That's like the
Hmm.
competitor, right? So one thing that we learned, and a lot of people were kind of talking about this, like you need to adjust it every so often, like actually take your own readings and see where it's at and adjust the PID to um be more accurate to what temperature you're trying to hit. I think his was off. I'm sure he'll correct me, but I want to say almost 5 degrees, which is
Yeah.
quite a bit, especially if you're trying to go like between 148 match temp and the 153. I mean, for 5 degree difference, that's quite a bit, right? So
Yeah, definitely, especially like when it comes to like final gravity. I will
yeah.
say like with those Brewosophy guys, they never find a difference like taste wise of
Oh,
the different
okay.
like gravities, which is kind of crazy. But still, you know, you would like to feel like you can predict it. So
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
So this one I think is always kind of fun to ask. So if beginner Ryan could see you now, what would he be surprised about?
That I brew lagers and drink them, I think,
Okay.
probably. Yeah.
Interesting.
You know, when I first started, it was like like all Belgians pretty much would be what I
Wow.
would. I
Fancy.
first started brewing Belgians and wheats and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I didn't really like it. So my journey was kind of like Belgian beer, and then I got into browns, and no, I got into stouts, and then I got into browns, and then I got into hazy IPAs, and then that kind of broke open the like floodgates of like now I can do West Coast IPAs.
Right.
And then, so like now I've really been on a big, I feel like I'm looking for good West Coast IPAs and good
Hmm.
like lagers and pilsners are kind of like, and then the like different seasonal beers that come
Yeah.
out, you know, at different times are kind of like what I search for in a store if I'm gonna look for something.
It's kind of what I do as well too. I try to find the oddballs and stuff like that. Yeah, there's definitely one thing I haven't tried yet, and I've talked about this every podcast so far, and I really need to do it because that way I could shut up talking about it. It's like I want to do a Helles. I love a Helles. I think Helles is a phenomenal beer style. I just haven't pulled the trigger. I haven't done it yet. I have a recipe. I have a couple questions about it because I got it from a gentleman from Hobby Possum 2 years ago. So I need to reach out to him and ask him if he can re-explain a couple things on the picture that I took. So
Yeah,
we're gonna move into something kind of fun. These are like just rapid fire questions. So give me
cool.
the first answer that kind of pops in your head. So here we go. Hazy or clear? Okay. Bottle or can?
Can.
Favorite beer glass?
Uh, Either I think this is called a nonic, so either a nonic
Yeah,
or a Tiku glass.
something like that. Yeah, I just call it like the English pint glass. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I love the Tiku glass. The problem is it's got a stem, and then I am lazy and I prefer to just throw in the dishwasher, which people are probably going to be like, "How dare you dishwash your beer glasses?" But I just rinse them with water
Yeah,
later,
that's
so
true.
it's fine.
Yeah. um, I love it.
See, I care just enough.
Yeah, you care just enough. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought now. Okay, one brewing trend you would like to see go away.
Ooh, wow, I don't like the milkshake IPAs, like the
Okay,
really
the
really fruity
smoothies, stuff like that. Okay,
smoothie stuff. Yeah, no,
so I
and
like
like
those.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
I don't really like a whole lot of fruit in my beer usually, unless it's like a lambic or like a
Okay,
classic.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there one that you would like to see come back?
West Coast IPA. Yeah, more West Coast IPAs in especially in breweries. I feel like anytime I go to a brewery now, it's normally like East Coast and the West Coast aren't. And West Coast IPA with a little bit of crystal malt in it. That's a hot take, and some people don't like it. And maybe it's a little bit of the Midwest IPA, like Bell's Two Hearted thing, but
Oh
like
yeah, Bill's
yeah,
delicious.
I like a little bit of color, a
Yeah,
little darker color in the West Coast too.
that's not a bad idea. I may have to try that. I'm not a huge West Coast IPA kind of guy. Maybe I do like Two Hearted, but again, it has to be ice cold. Because right when that thing starts to warm up, like I'm done with it. I don't want it no more. I just have to
Yeah.
drink it pretty quick. All right, so we're gonna just kind of wrap things up here. Is there anybody that you would like to see me interview next? And if so, if you have their information, that'd be brilliant.
Um,
Or if not, that's fine.
I mean, if you could talk, I don't know if you have Steve and Trentham.
I've reached out to him. I need to reach out to him
Yeah,
again. I sent him a message on Facebook when I
yeah.
first launched
He
this thing,
hasn't
and
been at Homebrew Club
nothing.
recently. Every time he brings a beer, it is so good, and
Yes,
I don't know how he does it. And every time I ask him for advice, he gives really good advice, but I just like don't know what kind of wizardry he's doing, and I would like to know more about it.
he's just a wizard. Is there any upcoming events or releases that you're looking forward to?
Um, No, I would just like to get back to Asheville again and go visit
Hmm,
some breweries there.
yeah,
I really enjoy doing that, and it's not far away.
no, it's
But
not.
the issue is like I feel like it's just far enough that it's kind of inconvenient. But
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, we talk about that offline. So what I've been
um,
asking all my guests so far, is there a recipe that you're willing to share with the audience? So what I'm going to do is after this episode gets released, I'll take said recipe and put it into like a Google Drive. Anybody can just go there and kind of grab it and make their own little recipe from said episodes.
yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
I'll have to figure out which one is probably the best one. I feel like I really enjoyed my last iteration of my hazy IPA. It did not turn out hazy, so sue me. So I maybe don't call it a hazy, maybe just call it an American IPA. But I really liked it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Ryan, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for carving out some time. Sorry about the technical difficulty earlier, but it's been a blast, my man.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yep. All right. We'll see you later.